You know, as an adult, I always reflect on the influence that anime has had on my life. And one thing that stood out to me specifically in Naruto is the phrase, believe it.
Believe it! Believe it! Believe it! So believe it! Then believe it! Believe it! Believe it! Believe it!
And as a kid, it's cheesy almost, but looking back on it as an adult, it's one of the most powerful phrases that I've seen get lost amongst my peers and my elders. You hear child Naruto make all these bold claims and promises to other characters in the show. He essentially said he'll be the most strongest, respected ninja in his village, in other words, the Hokage. Despite the fact that he was the weakest, the most lonely, and the most hated in his village because he had a monster sealed inside of him that could pretty much destroy the lives of everyone in the village. But here's what stood out to me the most early on in the show. Naruto made it through the Ninja Academy, and he was assigned to a team with two teammates, Sasuke and Sakura, and he had a teacher named Kakashi. And before any of their missions started, Kakashi asked the students to introduce themselves, and he asked one very specific question. What are your goals? And Naruto, he gave a very interesting answer.
I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I like instant ramen in a cup, and my future dream is to be the greatest Hokage. Then the whole village will stop disrespecting me and start treating me like I'm somebody important.
Did you catch that? The whole village will stop disrespecting me and treating me like I'm somebody important. And isn't that exactly what every living human being wants on this planet? To feel important or useful, like they matter to others or someone. Naruto knew who he was, and he carried that belief throughout the entire show. And it reminds me when I was a kid and I would tell my parents that I would never work fast food because I had way too many skills to do it, despite the fact that I had zero skills, none at all. But here's the crazy part. I've always seen myself as a person who has skills ever since I was young, and I've never lost that belief in myself. Fast forward 20 years later, now I make a living off the skills that I provide to help others. So the takeaway is this: if you can see yourself and you feel like you're someone who can do something unusual, then it's because you can. And that very belief will lead you to greatness. And the minute that you lose that belief is the exact nanosecond that you lose who you truly are. The tuning exams is where I learned my next lesson from Naruto. Naruto's team, as well as other ninja teams across the village and the nations, compete in both a physical and a written exam. And the written exam is what stood out the most to me. It was a room stuffed with low-ranking ninja, and they were tasked with taking an almost impossible test with 9 questions. If anyone was caught cheating, they would fail as well as their teammates for the entire year. And some ninja were actually smart enough to answer all the questions. Most of them weren't, which sounds very similar to real life situations. But here's where the magic happens. Not too long into the exam, other ninjas started using their specific abilities to help them cheat on the test without getting caught. Even Naruto's teammate Sasuke, he has an ocular ability that allows him to slow down time. So he just copied the motions of the pencil from the guy who was in front of him. The funny part was Naruto had zero abilities to help him cheat off of other people without getting caught, and he wasn't very book smart either. So you can imagine the stress that he was going through. But then there's a twist. The instructor announces that there's a 10th question that's not on the test. And if you decide to answer it and you get it wrong, then you will fail and never be able to take this exam again for life. Or you could raise your hand and be dismissed to come back and try again next year. More than half of the room raised their hand and left. And then we see Naruto start to raise his hand, shaking, knowing that there's no way he can get this answer right to question number 10 because he hasn't even started the test. And you see him slowly raise his hand, and then out of nowhere, he slams it on the desk and he goes, "This isn't gonna scare me. I'm gonna be the leader of the village one day. I'm gonna be the Hokage." And you see, the test was never about knowledge. It was about how well you could use your abilities to acquire knowledge that you didn't have already. And then if you truly believe in yourself, and if we sit down and think about the gap that's between where we are and where we want to be, it's oftentimes a lack of information. It's a lack of using our specific abilities or circumstances to get an edge in a system that's designed for most people to fail. And you may not have the abilities or circumstances as another person to succeed, but you're unique enough to find your own way. And in the event that hope is gone, you can always fall back on the belief of who you are. Don't be the ninjas that raised their hands and left the room. The third lesson I learned from Naruto is the hero's journey. Part 1 of Naruto ends when he's around 13 years old, and his teammate Sasuke deserts the village to pursue a personal path of vengeance. As his best friend, Naruto tries to stop Sasuke from pursuing this path, and ultimately they end up fighting. Naruto loses and Sasuke gets away. And this is the worst thing that ever happened to Naruto because his parents were killed when he was younger, and everyone in the village hated and was scared of him because of the monster that he was possessed with. His only friend was Sasuke, whose older brother murdered his entire family, only leaving Sasuke as a survivor. So both Naruto and Sasuke come from similar paths of loneliness, but they dealt with it differently. After their initial fight, Naruto gets a mentor and he leaves the village for 3 years, making his return back at age 16 with the new mission to rescue his friend from darkness. So the lesson here is that there will always be major downs in your life, and sometimes you'll need to disappear from your old life and pursue the hero's journey to become the person that can handle the challenges that await, and a good mentor and teacher will help with that. My fourth lesson comes from part 2 of Naruto, otherwise known as Naruto Shippuden. And we quickly start to see Naruto's growth as he becomes one of the strongest ninjas in the village with overwhelming power. But as we all know, with great power comes with great responsibility. Throughout Naruto's childhood and even in part 2, he had to fight opponents that were much stronger than him, but eventually he overcame them in combat. But here's what stood out. He never truly defeated his opponents with his combat prowess. That only got him in the door. Where he really made change was being able to communicate and talk to villains that had pure hate in their heart. Villains who experienced a cruel world and cruel people just as Naruto has. But countless times I've seen Naruto communicate to these villains that yes, the world is cruel, but there's still hope because there's people just like Naruto who are fighting to bring the light to the darkness. All of his enemies had a change of heart, eventually losing that hatred and putting trust in Naruto to make a change. Because at the end of the day, the villains also wanted to make a change, but they were just going about it a different way. There was one villain named Pain, and he essentially blew up the entire village that Naruto was from, killing the majority of the people inside. And of course, Naruto fought this villain and eventually led to a conversation. And after a long conversation with Pain and talking to Pain about what Naruto's vision and plans were, Pain used a technique that sacrificed his own life to revive the people that he killed in the village. This actually got Naruto the respect that he's always wanted from the village as a kid, and he was named the village hero. So the lesson here is having the ability to understand others. Communicating and presenting ideas that move people will turn your biggest enemies into your greatest allies. Which brings me to my last point, where I skip to the ending of Naruto. Naruto and Sasuke have their final match, and at this point in the series, they're the most overpowered characters, to the point where both Naruto and Sasuke could pretty much beat the entire cast combined. If you remember earlier, I said Naruto returned to the village from his hero's journey with a new mission, and that was to save his friend from darkness. And we see at the end of Naruto, he's fighting his friend who's trying to kill him. And it was a fight that went to the very last ounce of strength. I see Sasuke run out of energy and somehow find some way to steal the remaining energy that Naruto has left to perform his final attack. All he could think about was the journey and the friends that he met along the way to get where he is. And in that moment, we see the energy of all of Naruto's friends giving him the strength to prepare his final attack against Sasuke as well. Naruto and Sasuke, for the final time, clash again, losing both their arms. And they both lay on the ground, exhausted. And Sasuke finally admits to Naruto that he was right. I grew up with, in my eyes, seemed like very close to nothing. All I had was my siblings and my friends. And I was broke all my life. Hell, I'm still not too far away from it. The one key advantage I had when all hope was gone, I ran out of options, it was the support of my friends. The reason why I have the career and the skills that I have is because of the people who believed in me till this day. And it wasn't all the time people that just believed in me. Sometimes people that you know other people who can help. And from my personal experience, that's brought me a long way in life. So the lesson here is to be a genuine person and show other people that they're also important, because having friends is a literal cheat code to life. Naruto believed in himself and he passed the Chunin exams without answering a single question. He got the respect of the village and he became Hokage. And most importantly, he got his friend back. If you're able to have unwavering belief in yourself, gather information, and become the person who can conquer any challenge. Communicate well and assemble great friends. Then I say your creations are infinite and greatness is on the horizon. Cool. And I got to do the peace. I got to do the peace thing too. I don't know how to do that from this far away. I usually go peace, but like I'm real far from the camera because I did a new setup for this video, so I can't like peace. Man, how do I solve this problem? Maybe this will work. We could take the mic. You know what? We'll do this. Just move the camera forward. There we go. All right. Peace. So stupid.